I used to think that motivation was the problem. Like if I could just find the motivation to do something, everything else would fall into place. But these days I've been thinking about motivation, and I think that it isn't the problem at all. I think it's something else. So in this video we're going to be talking about motivation, and we only have one game of Call of Duty to discuss this topic. So I'm going to kick things off today, and I'm going to say that I think motivation is a fleeting feeling. I think that motivation just comes and goes, and it's not something that I can truly rely on to make myself do things. I think a better approach for me is to tell myself that I'm going to do something. For instance, if I write something down, I'm more likely to do it. If I make a list for tomorrow, I'm more likely to do that list. And I find that more reliable than motivation, because a lot of days I'm not motivated at all. I wake up and I don't really want to do anything. I don't want to do the work that I'm supposed to do. I might end up procrastinating. Whereas if I've told myself at, say for instance, 8 a.m, I'm going to go and do some push-ups, I'm much more likely to get that done. And it allows me to do that regardless of how I feel about it. I might feel very tired, unmotivated, and unwilling to work out or do some work. But writing it down, I find that helps me. How about you, Joe? How do you find motivation?
I'm the same, really. I can have all of the biggest of intentions, and then, like maybe the day before, and then the next day comes to it and it's very hard for me to do it. So I'm the same where we write lists. We both have a little, well, I don't think you do as well, but I have a little pad on my desk. And if I think of things that need to be done, I'll start writing a list, and then for the next day I'll just make a start. Doesn't mean to say it all needs to be done in one day. If I'm off for like a couple of days from work, then I'll do it over, a couple of days. Having a list is helpful because it helps me, one, get it out of my head and onto paper, and two, having a visual representation of being able to tick things off helps me to know where I'm at, what needs to be done, and it makes me feel good to know that I've done it. But finding the motivation, I would agree that I don't always have it. There are some days where I feel far more motivated than others, particularly like on my days off. Usually I'm so tired from work that like it's a bit of a slow start. I like to have a bit of a lie-in. Lie-in for me is like 6:30, 7 a.m. But I find it hard on my days off to just get going straight away. It takes me a bit of time, but generally once I do start, I can get most things done as long as I stick to it.
Yeah, I do notice on your days off, you might tend to scroll quite a lot on social media. Yeah. And how does that make you feel when you actually reflect on that, when you've been scrolling through social media?
I've been noticing a lot recently that I've been noticing that I'm noticing myself do it. Does that make sense? Yeah. Like this morning I woke up and I checked my phone because my phone made a notification sound, so I checked to see if it was like a work message or whatever. And rather than just be like, oh, it wasn't, and put it down, I'll just quickly check my Instagram. There's nothing on there to check. And I was scrolling, and found myself being like, what are you doing? Like, just get up. And I had to tell myself sort of 3 or 4 times just to do it. And I wasn't contributing to anything. I was like, I need to just make a start to the day. And I think first thing in the morning, I find it quite difficult to start. But once I'm up, I'm all right.
I find for myself that the times when I'm sort of most unmotivated, and what gets me in the motions of doing something is to actually just start. Mm-hmm. And that might be the hardest part, is just starting. Mm-hmm. And when I do start, it might feel that it feels very hard. I might not have any ideas. I might feel very slow. But then once I get started, ideas begin to flow. I start to get into whatever I'm doing, and I find motivation through that. One thing I'd like to actually mention is one way that I've managed to make things easier to get done, not using motivation, is actually to be lazy. And now a lot of people would say, oh, you're being lazy by not being motivated. Well, I think actually embracing how lazy you actually are, and it's sort of human nature, you want things to be done in the easiest way possible. So let me give you a real example. For instance, if I want to work out at home, I need my gym equipment in an easy place where it's not difficult. There's less barriers to entry to actually do that thing. So I have my barbell outside right now, or downstairs. I've got some area to do some push-ups. The dumbbells are already out with the weights on. So there's no barrier to entry. I just pick up the items and I do it. And I find time and time again that that is my best solution to doing things. Leaving things out and having that, because a barrier to entry ruins my motivation or willingness to do most things. As I'm sure you've learnt from me in the past, if there's any sort of barrier to entry, I lose motivation. I can't do it. And that's for pretty much everything in my life. I have to make things as simple and as easy as possible. Otherwise, I tend not to do it. So my advice in that region, I can't get up this ladder, would be to if you are wanting to do something, whatever that is, I'll just use exercise as an example because it's something that I do myself, is just to make it as easy as possible. Put the things out that you need to do it in the morning. If you spend your time, say, I spend a lot of time in this room. I used to bring my dumbbells in here. I had a dip bar. It's a bit rusty now, but I used to bring it in here, move my chair out. And then while I was watching a show or whatever I was doing at the computer, I was doing dips, or I could stop and do some lateral raises, my dumbbells. And that's the method that I've used. Is that something that you've been able to follow, Jo?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I do a similar thing. From my example, let's just say getting ready for work the next day. If I've got like an early day, I'll prep everything I need the day before, and then I will just wake up and it's no stress. So like I'll prep my food the day before. Like we used to do meal prepping, we don't really do it so much anymore. It's something I'd like to get back into. I'll get all of my clothes ready the day before. Like if I've got stuff I need to bring with me or things I need to do, I'll write a list. So literally it takes me zero thinking in the morning. I will just get up, get what I need and go. And I think I'd like to think I'm a very organised person. Like another example was we've recently got married and I was off a week before the wedding and I didn't have that much stuff to do. It was little bits and bobs, but I just made my list. I got everything prepped, and it was actually pretty smooth because I'd already thought about it in advance. And it was stressful, but having the lists and having stuff prepped in advance where you can makes it 10 times easier and much more likely to get stuff done and much more likely to have the motivation to do it in the first place.
Yeah, and the times where I say, for instance, I haven't made any sort of list and I've just had a sort of general plan, do this. Perhaps it's making a video or doing some sort of exercise. There might be something that interrupts me or distracts me. And I find myself a lot more prone to procrastination in those moments. And I find procrastination quite a big problem a lot of the time. I think if I could somehow eliminate procrastination from my life, I'd probably make a lot more videos and get a lot more done. Because a lot of the day, I mean, I like to think I'm quite a productive person, that I produce quite a lot of content for this channel on top of doing other work, but I do find myself just pointlessly watching videos and getting stuck in the loop of consuming. And it's only when I really give myself a sort of rigorous, we are doing this at this time, that it eliminates that procrastination. But one thing I'd also like to say is those moments when almost motivation is way too intense. For instance, I wanted to make, at this time of uploading this video, it will be quite a while ago now, but I made a video about gaming and I got so enraptured in the video editing of that it pretty much took over my life and it was all I was thinking about until it was done. And not just in terms of video creation, but in other areas of my life, sometimes I get quite hyperfixated on the thing I feel like I need to be doing. And at that point, it can feel like a detriment in a way. But at the same time, I feel like I'm getting a lot done. So I do enjoy those moments. And I think what this is actually highlighting is that it's purpose versus motivation. So for instance, I might be motivated, that is a fleeting feeling like we've discussed, but purpose, that's when you feel like you can pour yourself into something. Have you experienced those sort of feelings before?
Yeah, I mean, procrastination as well, going back to that, is something that I really struggle with as well. The amount of times I'll be doing something and maybe I'll give myself a little break and then I'll find something else to do in the interim, and that will end up taking me an hour that I did not need to do it. I had no plan to do it. There was no reason for me to do it, but I'm doing it simply because I don't want to do the other thing. And I fall into that a lot. I literally had it at work a couple of days ago. I've been trying to write risk assessments for Kosh for ages, and I was obviously off at the wedding, and now I'm back. I'm like, right, I'm going to get back onto it. They take so long that it took me an hour to do, I think maybe 2, just because of the detail I have to go into. And I was like, right, I'll just get away from the computer for 5 minutes and I'll come back. And then I ended up doing a completely different thing, and then didn't go back to it for the rest of the day, because it's just, I don't know, I think when something takes time as well, I know I can't do it quickly because I have to take time and do it properly, it's even harder for me to get back into doing what I should be doing.
Yeah, and then I think that can come into that feeling of instant gratification you've touched upon there. You want something to be quick and easy to achieve, but a lot of things in life, we have to spend a lot of time, and we might not even see the fruits of what we're doing for quite a long time. Mm-hmm. What about that feeling of purpose? When is that have you ever had that enrapture you, where you felt like you've really needed to do something to the detriment of other things?
Yeah, I mean, I have. It's more of a general thing, because I can't really think of any examples, but I do know that I have done it, where I've gotten so hyper fixated on one thing that I can't think about literally anything else until this is done, and it could take me a very long time. And again, it could be something that actually in the long run isn't that important, but to me at that time it is important, and I need to do it, and I need to do it now and do it a certain way, and that is all I'm going to think about until it's done. I don't think that happens to me as much as it happens to you. I see that happen to you a lot. And I think if I am hyperfixated, it doesn't last as long as yours does, maybe. Or maybe I'm able to sort of switch between things. But generally, when I'm in that state, it is hard to get me out of that. I just can't think of anything else.
Yeah, I do find myself in the throes of hyperfixation quite often. And perhaps I might be mixing hyperfixation with a sense of purpose. Perhaps it's not a sense of purpose, it's just I'm hyperfixated. Mm-hmm. But in those moments it sure does feel like a sense of purpose, but I don't always feel like I have a sense of purpose. And the thing is, a lot of people who might be listening today might not have any sense of purpose, and I guess it's a question of how can we find that, or how can we work towards doing the things that we do want to do in the back of our mind. Perhaps it is working out. Perhaps it is working towards whatever passion that you have. And I think ultimately that comes down to that feeling of making it as easy as possible, like we've mentioned already. Mm-hmm. Creating it in a way that's got the least barrier to entry. Mm-hmm. And just doing something until it begins to feel like a purpose. I think for me, I had to explore that myself. When I started making these videos, I had no sense of purpose. I was quite lost in life. But through doing this, it has given me a sense of purpose.
I mean, I think also it brings to mind the whole, you have to sort of lose yourself to find yourself a bit, don't you, as well? At the beginning of this journey, you kind of didn't really have, like you said, a direction. You just did it for the sake of doing it. And I think we were literally just talking about looking at Jake's YouTube channel and how it's gone from sort of season 1 to season 2, because I think you found what it is you want to do. And you have to do that. You have to experience it. You have to have like the embarrassing moments and this isn't really quite what I wanted to do, but I was doing something to be creative and find what I wanted to do. You have to do that. And I think a lot of people have that with careers as well. Is, for example, like we both went to uni. You are doing something in relation to your.
Yeah, it's questionable.
Well, in comparison to most other people, I, for example, am not. And I think it happens to a lot of people where you have this passion, but then the world of, reality hits and jobs and stuff, and you fall out of your passion. But there's no reason why you can't still do your passion or find your creativity or whatever it is you want to do in some way, in some form in your life, whether it's a hobby or whether it's something you want to make into a monetary thing. But you do have to put the work in. Not everything is instant gratification, and if you want it to be long lasting, you've got to figure it out, and a lot of the time that means feeling like you don't have a purpose for a while until you find it.
Yeah, and I think that we've reached the end of the game, and there's a lot more to say here, but what I was going to say was it's about just finding that space to be able to pursue the thing that you want. Give yourself the time to pursue it. But we have run out of time. That is the end of the game. And if you want to hear more from us, click this video here. Thanks for listening.